Hey everyone, so in the previous video we talked about the basics of transformation. In this video we'll be covering what primitives are, better known as mesh in Blender. So to quickly get into this video, let me start by explaining what primitives are. This is a primitive, or I think I'll be using the word mesh since that's what Blender calls it. This is a mesh. Now what's a mesh? A mesh is basically a pre-made asset. Mostly cubes, cylinders, spheres, in most 3D applications, and they serve as building blocks for your 3D objects. For instance, if I add a cube, from a cube I could make a house, or a building rather. From a cube I could make a pillar, right? From a cube I could make a box. From a cube I could make, as you can see, it's a building block. It's the first step to making your 3D model. So now, referring to Blender, how many primitive, or rather mesh, do we have available? Well, we have a number of them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 primitive shapes, or mesh rather, in total in Blender, and we can use all this as building blocks. Let's start by adding each primitive into the scene and giving just a brief explanation. For retention and exercise sake, let's delete this cube and add it through the add menu, and I'll explain what the cube can be used for. So you just go to add, mesh, cube. So what's a cube? As you can see, the cube is a basic 6-faced object. It's used to create mostly solid structures. Can also be used for a starting, as is like I mentioned earlier, as a start for blocky models, right? You can also use it for different other things that are not blocky as well. There's a reason why it's the default cube. It's quite important. You can use it for many number of things. So I'm just going to delete. I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to move on to the UV sphere. A sphere is a circle in 3D, where you can see it on all sides, as opposed to a circle that you can only see it on 2 sides. Mostly used for creating spherical or round objects. You can use this to create planetary bodies. You can use this to create a tire. You can use this to create a human head. That's what it's mostly used for, actually. Human anatomy and all of that. So you can use it to create human body, human parts, and all of that. So it's actually very, very handy as well. Let me just delete that. Let's go over the icosphere. Now the icosphere is a sphere, but it's built with triangular faces, as opposed to the sphere that is built with vertical and horizontal lines, right? So it's mostly used for organic shapes as well. If I should quickly add the sphere, if I should quickly add the sphere and come to my move tool and then move it to the side, you can see the difference where these are small boxes or small rectangles, as opposed to this that is a triangle, are made of triangle faces. Yeah, it depends on to be honest, it depends on what route you want to use, right? Either the sphere or the icosphere, but they all have their different purposes, as we'll see later on in the course. So let's delete that. Let's move on to a cylinder. Now, so a cylinder is a long circular shape with a top and bottom face, right? So you'd see that we have a top and a bottom face, flat surface. It's perfect for objects like pipes or columns. So yeah, you can use this for pipes, columns, curbs. It's very handy. It's used for, I think I use the cylinder on almost every project. Just do that. Let's add the next object, which is a cone. The cone. So remember this menu: add, mesh, cone. So a cone has a circular base that tapers to a point, often used for spikes, trees, or funnels, right? So that's what we have the icosphere as. So it's quite important as well. If I just quickly delete this, remember you can press delete or X to delete your object. So this is just if you press X, a menu will come up and ask you delete selected objects. You can put delete or cancel, but if you press just delete, it's just going to go ahead and delete it. So let's go on to the next object, which is the torus. Now the torus is a donut shaped ring, good for objects like tires, rings, or handles. Also made for the I think it was used for the donuts in the donut tutorial. I'm not so sure, but yeah, you can make stuff like that with the torus. Very important as well. Let's move on to the plane. I would say this is my second favorite object in Blender, and it's just a flat two-dimensional surface. So you could say this is a cube in two dimension, right? It's used as a base for ground planes or flat objects like tables. So for instance, if I should quickly do this, if I should scale this up, you could see that this can be now remember the shortcut for scale is S, or you can come all the way here and then click anywhere in this circle and then drag and you scale your object. So yeah, so you can see that we have a floor out of that plane. You can use it for so many different things. We'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, that's the plane. And if I should delete this, if I go to add, let's finally go over the circle. Now the circle, I wouldn't say it's tricky, but it's the only primitive to not have a face or geometry. I would say, yeah, just go over the two last ones that are not so are just additionals. This is the monkey. Now in each 3D application, you have things called mascots, or maybe that's not the right word, but they're like mascots. They're just gimmicks or just shapes to show the capabilities of the application. Cinema 4D has its own. Blender, I'm not sure. I don't think Unreal Engine. I've never seen Unreal Engine having it. But Maya should probably have it. And for Blender, it's the monkey, right? So it just shows you what you could do with your basic shapes or basic primitives. You could make this monkey out of a box. You could make it out of a plane, right? I would say it's probably it was most likely maybe a plane. I'm not too sure, but yeah, that is the monkey for you. Yeah, the last one is the grid. Now, not to worry yourself about this as well. The grid is basically, if I go to edit mode, the grid is basically your plane, but then subdivided. Now, what's subdivision? We're going to get into that a little bit later as well. But subdivision basically is increasing the amount of faces on a model. It's increasing the amount of geometry on a model, right? To make it either more smooth or make it more coherent, cohesive, right? That's what subdivision is. So this is just if this is just your plane but subdivided. If I should quickly just show you what the subdivision does. To add primitives or add mesh is to hit Shift A and then come to mesh and press plane. Now if I go to edit mode by pressing tab or coming all the way to this menu, you see that this is just one face. And if I go to edit mode, if I click on this object, you have several faces. So what Blender is just giving you is it's giving you a start. It's giving you something you can start with, as opposed to coming to a plane and then subdividing it over and over again to get this. Everything for this video. I would say you should try adding in each mesh and just taking a look at it. In the next video, we're going to talk about how you can align your objects in the scene. It's going to be very brief and simple, but yeah, see you in class.